Hi everyone, my name's Helen, and today I'm here with my May wrap-up and my June TBR. You may notice we're in yet another new location. I'm home alone today, and I needed to film, and I wanted to film now, and the best light in the house is in the living room, so I'm in my living room. And you will more than likely see my cats or my dog in this video because they're all here and they're all walking around and the dog is crying to be let in, so hold on. Now that the dog is inside, I can begin. Hi Ted, come say hi. So the first book that I read in the month of May was Bloodthirsty by Flynn Meany. And I saw somebody talk about this in an underrated books video a little while ago, and it made me really want to read it. And this is about a boy who pretends to be a vampire so that he can get girls, and it was really funny, quite entertaining. I had some problems with the language used in this book. And keep in mind, I don't particularly care about swearing or profanity in general, or people being vulgar, but just there are certain words that bother me, and they're all in here, and they're used liberally, and it was like every time a specific word was said, it was like cringeworthy for me. But I still really enjoyed this book, and I gave it, I think, 3 out of 5 stars. The second book that I read in May was Every Day by David Levithan, and this is about an individual named A, who wakes up in a different body every day. One day A wakes up in a body of this boy, and he meets Rhiannon, and he falls in love with her. And so A spends the rest of the lives that A gets trying to find Rhiannon again and get her to fall in love with it. And this was a really, really good book. It was probably a 5-star right up until the end, and then the end just ruined it for me. Oh, I need the second book. I really do. I was kind of upset with the ending. I ended up giving this 4 out of 5 stars. The third book that I read this month was How to Love by Katie Cotugno, and this was the book that my book club picked to read for this month. And this follows a girl named Serena, and it's in 2 separate timelines, before and after. And the before timeline is when she's falling in love with this boy named Sawyer and how their relationship develops before he gets up and disappears. And after is 2 years after his disappearance, when he comes back and realizes that Serena was pregnant with his child when he left, and so they have a 2-year-old baby. And this book was so freaking good. I loved it so much. It covered some really interesting topics, including, of course, the teen pregnancy and Catholicism and how it deals with teen pregnancy and family issues and a fairly toxic relationship, but how people can change if given the chance, and it was just such a good book. Such a good book. I gave this 5 out of 5 stars. The fourth book that I finished this month, and I'm so freaking proud of myself for actually finishing this, you're about to understand. Are you ready? I finished Game of Thrones. And I still can't believe I finished Game of Thrones. Like, what? I never thought that I would actually be able to power through this, and I loved it so much. It did drag at some points for me, but the stuff that was happening while the writing was dragging was still interesting, and I loved the characters so much. Oh my god. The pain that this book brought me was unbelievable, and it put me into a bit of a reading slump right after it, and I couldn't read for about 3 or 4 days, even though I was in the middle of a readathon and needed to pick up more books. I couldn't do it. I just couldn't. If you couldn't guess, I gave this book 5 out of 5 stars, and it was amazing. The fifth book that I read this month was If You Find Me by Emily Murdoch, and this is a book about a young girl and her little sister, and they grew up in the woods with their mother, who took them away when she was like 5 years old. Her little sister was actually born in the woods and all this crazy stuff, but after their mother has been gone for almost 3 months, her father shows up to bring them home, and it's her and her little sister adapting to regular life and there's kind of this big secret that's held all the way through right until the end. This was an amazing book. I loved it so much. It dealt with such important topics for young adult, and the writing was just amazing. This is a debut novel, and I still can't wrap my head around that. It was so good, and I'm pretty sure I gave this 5 stars. The 6th book that I read in the month of May was Ashes of Twilight by Cassie Taylor, and this is a kind of steampunk dystopian novel where an area around Wales has actually been put inside like this giant glass bubble, and it was because of this meteor that was going to strike, and all the people inside of this globe believe that the world outside of it is flames, and that as soon as you go out you will die. And this is about a girl named Wren and a boy named Pace, and they both know some things that prove that the outside world may not be what they've always thought it was, and so the two of them kind of meet, and they have to go for the outside world if they wish to survive, and of course they fall in love and all this kind of stuff that is very typical YA. I didn't really know what to expect going into this, and I ended up enjoying it quite a bit. It's really, really addicting, but it's not necessarily the best book, but I couldn't stop reading it. I had to finish it. I ended up giving it about 3 stars because even though I devoured it, I didn't enjoy it as much as I would have liked to, but it is still really good, really addicting. Like, I recommend this. Just don't go into it expecting the best of the best, but go into it expecting addicting as hell, because that's what it is. 7th and final physical book that I read this month was Bunheads by Sophie Flack, and this is a story about a ballerina, and Sophie Flack actually used to be a ballerina, so all of the kind of stuff in here about like the competition and the lifestyle is all very, very accurate. And this was kind of a mind-blowing read, because some of the things that the characters say in this that they believe to be good things are just so against what I believe as a person, but it's what they need to do and need to be in order to be successful ballerinas, so it was so intense to read about, and I really enjoyed it, and I ended up giving this 4 out of 5 stars. And this month I also listened to one audiobook. I'm pretty sure it's only the one. Listened to the audiobook of The Book of Broken Hearts by Sarah Oakler, and this follows a girl named Jude and her father who has Alzheimer's, and the two of them hire this boy named Emilio Vargas to fix his bike in like a last kind of summer thing to do together before he loses the rest of his memories and all this kind of stuff. And of course, the Vargas boys are supposed to be completely off limits to the Hernandez girls because they always break their hearts, and they write all about it in this book, which of course is the Book of Broken Hearts. And at its core, of course, this book is a romance between the two main characters, but it also does really dive into the world of Alzheimer's and what it would be like to have a parent who is suffering from it and not really being able to do anything to help. And it was so intense, especially the last half of the book really concentrated on that, and I really, really enjoyed it, and I ended up giving it 4 out of 5 stars. So in total, as long as I'm actually right about how many audiobooks I listened to, I read a total of 8 books this month, which I'm quite proud of. I'm into like the currently reading section of this. Right now I am reading Tempest by Julie Cross, which I did start during the Bout of Books readathon, I believe, this month, but I got to around page 53 and needed to put it down and pick up something else because it wasn't quite what I was into. But I picked this up again yesterday, and I'm kind of more in the mood for it, so hopefully I'll be finishing this month. And I am also currently listening to The Air by Kira Cass on audiobook, and I'm only like 2 chapters into it. I'm not very far in at all, so I don't really have a full thought of how I feel about it yet, but we'll see how this goes, because this book has been getting some fairly negative reviews from most people, so we'll see where I fall on that spectrum. Other than those, I only actually have 2 books which I am planning to read this month. I am planning to read The Shifter by Janice Hardy, which I pulled out of my TBR jar for Bout of Books last month, and it sounds so interesting, and I actually really want to give this a shot, so I'm hoping that I will read this month. The only other book I have planned to read this month is Aragon by Christopher Paolini, and this is the book club pick for my book club this month, which is the super chill YA book club. I'll leave a link to it in the description if I remember. This is the book that won the poll this month, so this is what we're reading. And since those are the only books that I really have planned, I have my little TBR jar here, and I'm going to pick, I think, 2 books out of it. Because June may be a pretty hectic month for me. I'm not entirely sure, so I'm going to find out. But I'm going to pick out 2 books out of here and hopefully read those. There are so many slips of paper in here, oh my god. Okay, and they're all like stuck together. Oop, that one picked itself. The first book I pulled out, I don't know if you will be able to see that at all, but it's The Uninvited by Sophie Jordan, which is downstairs, so I'm not going to go grab it right now. But it's about a society where they have learned how to detect a gene that will determine if someone is going to be a killer, and this girl goes to the test and finds out she has this gene, even though she believes she would never kill somebody. So it sounds really interesting, and I'm really excited to read that. This one. And the second book I pulled out is, I don't know if you'll be able to read it yet again, is Entwined by Heather Dixon, which I actually have no idea what it's about, but it has one of the most beautiful covers ever. I will make sure there's a picture of it here for you. And I've heard amazing things about her writing, so I'm really excited to dive into that. Those are all of the books that I read last month, and all the books I'm planning to read this month. What did you read last month, and what are you planning to read this month? Let me know in the comments down below. I do respond to every comment on my videos, and I absolutely love hearing from you. And I will see you soon with a new video. Bye!